Welcome to the Check Swing Podcast with myself and my main man Santa over there, the baseball guru himself. And I am, as you can see the name down here, Jay Watson Radio Man on the Twitter and the Instagram and all that good stuff. So go ahead and follow me. But what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another Wednesday night live special here on New Twist Radio, and we are talking sports, more sports, and topics surrounding sports. We're talking NFL signings. We're talking. Thank you for that like too. Appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're talking NFL signings. We're talking MLB signings. We're talking disparity in baseball. We're talking Leah Thomas. I'll just leave it at that until we get to it. And we're going to have a good time today. So welcome back. We appreciate y'all. Let me get that out the way early. We definitely appreciate y'all for coming back and checking us out. Make sure you share us with your friends, your family, your enemies, and all that good stuff. But like I like to start off every show, and most of y'all already know this, I like to start off every show by saying to my people that's on here with me, Miguel.
Yo!
How you been, brother?
I've been fantastic.
That's a good start.
Still start. Still working through the final negotiations of closing on our house. We are at the finish line, so to speak. Just hammering out some minor details, and you know how that goes. As I move to the.
Actually, I don't, because I've still yet to buy a house myself. So I'm listening to you and taking notes when you go through this. My wife has bought a house before, and you've bought a house before.
This is my third. This is my third house.
See,
this is my third house. Yeah.
Experience. So when you talk about buying houses,
Mm-hmm.
Heases, I listen. I take notes.
You said Jesus?
Heases.
Oh.
So all right. So let me give you the reference. I don't know if I ever sent you this video, but it's a video of these guys. They're comedians, and the video is called "When the Whole Crew is Dumb." Right. So the only one I can really it's they're talking, and they said they were talking about a mouse, and then they started talking about mice. So the guy was like, yeah, he started saying it was there were Mises, and the guy said Mises, that's not right. He said, what you mean that's not right? It's mouse. And no, first he said mouses, and he said that's not right. He's like, it's mice. He said, all right, well then there were like 10 mices or whatever he said. Anyway, so then he goes, so if it's mouse and mice, then it must be house and heist. They were like, no. So they're like, it's Heases. Like, you got to see the video. I'm gonna find the video and send it to you. It was hilarious. Had me rolling. But you know,
the reason why I thought you said Yeezy, I had a flashback because I was taking the light rail home from work, and there was this random guy. He was wearing, the caution jackets, the bright neon Jones.
Yes.
And it was crowded because there was a delay, and whatever. You know how trains are. And he just started yelling out of nowhere, and he was like, "Jay-Z's Jay-Z's the real motherfucker." So he was just going off. And you know how like everybody's talking on the train, so you're thinking, all right, he must be talking to somebody. And I was like, wait a minute, he don't have no earpiece, he don't have a phone. He's debating with somebody else on this train, and then he was yelling at the top of his lungs, and everybody's like, oh, here we go. As he's getting off the train, he's like, thank you very much. Good night. At 4:30 in the afternoon. I was like, okay, it is.
Show for y'all.
Yeah, I'll see if he can be on next. I'll see if he can get on the show next week.
Don't even worry about it. God bless his mind. So tonight we're going to be talking about some things. Oh, Miguel's going to stump me at some point today. He stumped me last week, and I was so mad that you stumped. It was like a real easy one that I should have got, and I even.
Oh, it was Daryl Strawberry, yeah.
And when I was even embarrassed telling somebody that you stumped me with that one. I was so embarrassed by that stumping, but good job by you.
Well, because I know that like there's a certain like era that like you're really strong in. So I was thinking because
especially with baseball,
right? Because that era, like he was on the two Yankees championship team, so it was towards like the tail end of the '90s. I was
Right.
like, all right, and that was when you were, man loving your Braves and stuff. So
Hey, but it's true. I was a Braves fan. I was a Phillies fan at the same time. Yes, I was. I was young enough to do that.
that's a
Now,
violation.
now it doesn't exist. Okay. I was young enough to do it at the time. Actually, when I was younger, I liked a lot of teams because I just didn't know any better. Like I liked the A's because they were in
It's
the World Series all the time. So I liked the A's. I
but
liked the
it's okay to like the A's because where did they originate from?
from Philadelphia.
From Philadelphia. It's okay to like the A's.
So interesting thing, and then we're going to get into the topic after that. So interesting thing, right? A's, the Oakland Athletics originated in Philadelphia. Now they're in the Oakland area. Um, Also, the Warriors in the Oakland area also originated in Philadelphia. So I want to do some research. I actually asked somebody about it, and they said no, it's not related. But I always wondered if that was related, if there were some people involved in that move for both franchises. I just think it's very interesting that both franchises moved from Philadelphia to like the Oakland, San Francisco area. And I don't even know if Oakland and San Francisco are close, but it just felt comfortable for me to say it that way.
Yeah, they're right. Remember the World Series, Oakland versus San Francisco.
Yes.
They were right across the Bay Bridge, so they're in the same vicinity. Yeah,
Right.
and I think the Sixers came from Syracuse, if I'm not mistaken.
The Sixers came from Syracuse. They were the Syracuse Nationals. Yes, that's
Nationals, that's
that's,
right.
that's good. That's good knowledge by you. Syracuse Nationals, and then they took the Warriors spot and became the Philadelphia 76ers. My favorite team played tonight at 10 o'clock against the LA Lakers. Let me go ahead and turn the volume down on my phone because I usually have the ringer off, but apparently right now I do not. So let me turn that down. So whoever just text me, thank you, appreciate it. And whoever just texted me. So I'll tell you who it is, Miguel.
Uh
Actually,
oh.
it's a player that both of us coached that I spoke about earlier. Him and another player. They're playing the show, right? I encouraged them to play MLB the show,
Okay.
especially guys that didn't have as much knowledge of the game itself. And so you know who Jayon is.
Yep.
He's a senior. He's playing one of the guys, one of the lesser experienced guys on the team. Um, and he actually lost to the guy on a walk-off home run in extra innings. Doesn't that sound familiar? Didn't you
It
do that
does.
to me?
Twice, I think.
No,
I think
no,
once
you
in a
might be right.
no. I got a walk off single the one time, and then a walk off home run the next.
Correct. And I think I got a walk-off something in the game I won, I believe.
Yes, you did.
I believe. Okay, so let's get into the topic. Let's get into the elephant in the room. And while I bring up the elephant in the room, I do want to encourage you to call us with your opinions today. This is the first show on New Twist Radio in which we are opening up the phone lines, brand new phone lines. Call us up 669-275-0323. That's 669-275-0323. Call us up with your opinions. Don't call right now because we haven't talked about anything for you to have an opinion yet. So don't do it. Don't try to get in there early.
Well, they could
Actually,
have had. They
actually
could.
go ahead and call now.
They could have an opinion on who's better, Jay-Z or Yeezy.
Yeah, you can call us with that too. We can talk about that too. We talk about it all here. Um, NFL signings. This is we're beyond the legal tampering period, correct?
Correct.
Beyond the legal tampering period, and now people are actually signing. And we have some guys there that I think we got Mathau over there. I don't think as of yet he has signed with anybody
Has
yet.
not signed anybody with anybody yet. You have Devontae Adams, who's now an Oakland Raider,
He's a Raider. How about that?
and Von Miller, who I believe went back to Denver, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he go back? I thought he went somewhere else.
I think he did. I am
Hold on.
incorrect.
Let me look that up real quick. But there were a lot of moves that happened. You got we were talking about it. Desean Watson making moves. Carson Wentz making a move. Hold on, let me see.
Matt,
Buffalo.
it was
Von
Buffalo. Okay.
Buffalo.
And you
Um,
have Matt Ryan with the Colts
Matt Ryan
today.
going to the Colts. So many moves happening in the NFL. This is always an interesting time. The offseason is always interesting and it builds up excitement for the season. Wentz to the Commodore to the
See,
what they call it?
see,
The
see,
Commanders.
see. I do the same thing. I keep calling them the
Well,
Commodores.
let me tell you why I called them the Commodores. If you look at the notes that you sent, you put Commodores
And I did that. I did that on purpose because I
because
was
you knew it
debating.
would mess me up. Ron Burgundy.
I was debating on whether to use that meme that was out there with Carson Wentz playing the part of Lionel Richie.
That's funny. Did you see the one with him being compared to the hot dog?
Yeah,
Actually, I think you posted that. I think you were the one I
I
saw.
may have. I may have. And the big trade today was Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins.
That was an interesting one. I spoke with Ryan, our dot on that. We were talking earlier. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm so unprofessional. We were talking about that earlier, and I thought that was the dumbest thing in the world. But when he explained it to me, it was really a money move. Then I started thinking, well, if it's a money move, right? Because um, you gave Mahomes all that money, right?
Hmm.
So now it's like you now have taken away your big dollar quarterback's best weapon,
Hmm.
and so is it really worth it to pay a quarterback all that money if you cannot surround him with anything to be successful with? Now, I'm not saying that the Chiefs are not going to be successful. All I know is that they took away his best weapon. Okay. But is it worth signing one of the best quarterbacks in the league, as Mahomes is, if you can't put anything around him because you can't afford to put anything around him? I mean, what's the point of that?
Well, I think it depends on the quarterback because, like, when you have a quarterback like a Tom Brady, when you look back at the teams that he has led to Super Bowls, you can't really name a lot of superstar wide receivers. I mean, he may have had like a Deion Branch here, and you know, he had
Randy
Antonio.
Moss, he had a Deion Branch, he had a Dante
Right,
Stallworth.
but remember with Randy Moss, he didn't win a Super Bowl.
He
They
did
were
not.
undefeated, but they lost in the Super Bowl, which
Correct. Oh,
which
you're
they
just talking about the winning teams. Okay.
right. So, but for most of the winning teams, he didn't have a true number one. I mean, if you look at the Eagles, when we won the Super Bowl, we had Alshon Jeffrey, but really he had a career year. You know what I mean? But otherwise, it was a team that we spread the ball around between Corey Clement and
I just had the other receiver's name in my head. I was waiting for you to say it.
Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz, Corey Clement, Alshon Jeffrey.
Nelson Aguilar had a career year that year,
Nelson
and
Aguilar had his best year that year, at least
yep,
best year as an Eagle.
yep.
You had who was the number two receiver? I'm brain farting right now.
It was Aguilar, I thought.
Well, maybe it was two, or maybe I'm talking about the number three. It was. I keep wanting to say Stallworth. It wasn't Stallworth. It was. Help me out, people. Help me out, family. Who was that other receiver that came from Baltimore? He was a Baltimore receiver, and I think he ended up going back to
Oh, Torrey Smith.
Torrey Smith. Thank you, Torrey Smith. Torrey Smith was a big addition.
But remember, he was going through the dropsies at that time. He rebounded in the NFC Championship game with that flea flicker, which I still don't know how to this day how he caught it or how that ball was thrown. But
Shout out
he,
to Devin Polk giving me that answer, helping us out with that answer. I appreciate
Devin
you.
Polk, thank you for the response. It was correct, but 10 minutes late as usual.
Don't do that to that man. Don't do that to man.
you
He
know, you know,
actually, you know what? He showed up to. I think it was last week. He showed up to a practice very briefly. He was there. I said, "What's up, man?" He said, "What's up?" I got back to practice, and then I realized, like after we were done, I never got a chance to talk to him. Like he was gone. But that's my man, Devin Polk. D
he
Polk.
got
Polk.
stuff to he got stuff to do. He's got moves to make.
Yeah, he does. He's a busy man.
Sounds like how he practiced. Um,
Stop trying to play.
so he
I
knows
can
I
hear him
love him.
now. He's like, "Oh, come on, coach." I can hear him right now. Oh,
I
come on.
know, I know, I know. And then he's gonna log off and cry into his oversized pillow.
Oh,
Um,
come on, coach. He gonna
But
find you. He gonna
but
find
yeah,
you.
so you had like two or three receivers that had career years, and then and it's very even Foles, like he caught lightning in a bottle for
The whole
about
team caught lightning in a
they
bottle.
did.
Hmm.
But that's why like a quarterback like a Cam Newton had to have that career year to go to the Super Bowl, and it was a hard. You can even argue Aaron Rodgers, because as great as Aaron Rodgers is, he's only been to one Super Bowl and one, and
Well,
has not been
I
back since.
argue against that point because only because when we talk about lightning in a bottle, the Eagles were kind of good the following year, but
Right.
they were never really Super Bowl worthy. I feel like the Packers have been Super Bowl worthy. I feel like they have choked in the playoffs.
Correct.
At least the last couple years for sure have choked in the playoffs. Whereas the Eagles kind of just were lucky to get in the last few times they got in. And
And we all knew
outside of
they
winning the NFC East.
right, and we all knew they weren't. We knew it. We knew that they weren't getting past Tampa Bay. We just wanted to see how far we were in the rebuilding process.
Exactly.
So it was like everybody's like, oh, Cowboys fans are like, oh, you guys suck, this, and that. It's like we didn't expect to win. Y'all wanted us to lose. We knew where we were. Y'all should have won, but you have a quarterback that runs the ball inbounds with 9 seconds left. So
He will never make that mistake again, though.
I'll take the
Never.
under.
He will.
I'll take the over.
He will never make that mistake again. He learned that day. He
It,
learned.
it's it's
I
like
hope. I hope he learned. I hope he didn't, but I hope he did.
it's like Tony Romo. It's not that he'll make the same mistake again. It'll be something completely different, like a fumbled snap or just something. He will never make that mistake again. But it's just you see the same pattern as Tony Romo, just like a rollout that shouldn't have been, stopping short of the goal line, throwing it to the like. I
That
don't.
moment, they just couldn't deal with that moment.
It's like Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I feel like we never saw if Carson Wentz could deal with the moment. Like I feel like we never found out, and still don't know to this day.
Well, I mean, you kind of saw glimpses of that when he had to get his team into the playoffs last year and choked against the Jaguars last year.
Yeah, I wasn't watching them.
But
I
I mean,
But you're
it
right because I definitely said I talked to our resident Colts fan. I said y'all getting in
right,
playing the Jaguars, and he said, "Well, we don't beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville." I said, "Y'all gonna beat them this year. The
right.
Jaguars are awful, and they end up losing." So I had to eat all my words. I had to eat all my good things I said about Carson Wentz because I really thought that maybe he would get back to form under Frank Reich, but he didn't. And then it is what it is.
Right.
But you know what? I looked at some Carson Wentz stats today, and I saw something interesting. He only there. I think he came into the league in 2016, I believe.
Yes. Hmm.
He only threw more than 3 interceptions 3 times in his career, and 2 of those times, I believe, were the last 2 years. So his rookie year, he threw more than 3 interceptions.
Hmm.
Then he threw like exactly 3 interceptions for a few years.
Hmm.
And of course, he got hurt some of those years. And he got hurt the one year in 2017. He
Hmm.
came in 4 games in 2018,
Hmm.
but he only had 3 interceptions in those years. And then his last season with the Eagles, he threw like 13 or something crazy. And then
Hmm.
this year, I don't know how many he threw, but I thought that was very interesting stat when it came to Carson Wentz because people talk about how bad he is, and he's been bad the last 2 years.
Hmm.
But he used to take care of the ball.
Yeah.
And
Well, yes and no. He took care of it in spots, but he got more reckless, especially after the back injury. When he came back from the back injury, see, I think he came back too soon from the ACL tear,
I would agree with that.
because even when he was back, you could tell, because they always tell they even when Brady came back from his ACL, wasn't quite the same that first year back. but he didn't really rush back. So there was kind of like, all right, this is I'm literally just taking this season to recover, get back into the game flow, get my body right, and then after that, then he was like, all right, I'm Tom Brady, I'm back, I'm winning 6 more Super Bowls. But with Wentz, and there was a story that came out about how him and Darren Foles kind of, almost came to blows and
Darren
stuff.
Sproles,
Darren, what did I say? Darren Bros.
Darren Foles,
Darren Sproles. Sorry, Freudian slip.
mixed Nick Foles and Darren Sproles there.
Yeah, yeah, that.
Probably a hell of an athlete though.
Yeah, would be. Would win the Super Bowl. But now Darren Sproles kind of downplayed it, and he said that he just kind of made Wentz was complaining about how the Eagles were successful without him, and Sproles is like, well, keep your head up, and we win as a team, and then that was it. So that was the extent of the quote unquote argument. But I think that he's been pressing ever since, because you can see it in his decision making. You can see it in almost every game. There's always a highlight of like there's a guy open 15 yards right in front of him, looking right at his face, but he always chose a deeper route. So there was always that living in the shadow of Foles. And if you want to put like salt on the wound, remember when he was traded to the Colts, there was a silhouette of Foles on Lincoln's side, on the 95 side. And guess what they replaced it with? They replaced it with the hands of Foles holding up the trophy. So it's like there's constant reminders of the fact that we won a Super Bowl technically without him. I mean, you can argue, he took us there with all the games that he won. But when it came down to the big game, he was sitting on the sidelines and Foles was the champion.
Truth be told, the Eagles do not get to where they got to if it wasn't for the contributions of Carson Wentz during that season.
Absolutely.
People tend to forget that Carson Wentz was probably going to win the MVP that year.
Yep. So I think, yeah, he
win the MVP.
He had 34 touchdowns, something crazy like that. He had the team record for touchdowns in that game. He tore his ACL. And people forget he tore his ACL and then threw a touchdown and then came out.
Touchdown, the very next play.
It's crazy.
Absolutely right. So there's just some things to talk about there. Mariota goes to the Falcons. We talked about that. Kaepernick getting some looks by multiple teams according to his trainer. I'll be honest with you, I ain't buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm just not. Like I like Kaepernick. I like what he stands for. I liked him as a player. I personally, I'm not buying the fact that he's getting looked at by multiple teams, because he was getting looked at by multiple teams before. And that was at least 2 years ago. And now he's 2 years older and 2 years without playing any professional competitive football.
I still think that a Colin Kaepernick is better than a Colin Kaepernick out of the league for 4 years is better than a 6-year veteran Blaine Bortles or a Ryan Fitzpatrick, or he's better. He's better now than almost 50-60% of the quarterbacks that are out there.
I don't know that.
I mean, yeah, it is hard to say, but I mean, even athletically,
we're talking about what he was the last time we saw him professionally. Which,
right.
If you remember, last time we saw him professionally, he wasn't the starter.
Right, but remember that when he lost the starting job, it was a new coach, new regime, new style. It didn't mesh with his style. So he, unfortunately, yes, he is what you would call a system quarterback. He has to be in a certain system to succeed, and the system changed. But there's still no denying he took the 49ers to a Super Bowl and was 8 yards away from winning a Super Bowl. Took them to 2 NFC Championship games. Multiple accolades and stuff like that. So there's some talent there. And I know there's arguments about, he's not accurate and all he does is run, stuff like that. Again, Super Bowl, 2 NFC titles, you know what I mean? Or 2 NFC championship games. So there's a proven track record of success.
Right. Yeah. Well, and let's proven track record of success. How long ago was that Super Bowl he won?
It was a minute. It was like 13, 14, something like that.
Are we are we saying that we're obviously not saying that he's still that guy.
We don't know though. We don't know if he's not
We
that
don't
good.
know. We don't know he's that guy. I'm of the thought process. Like here's my thing about Kaepernick, and I really don't want to talk back because, like I said, I like what he stands for. I like some of the things he does. Um, I think he's a great influence for people. If he doesn't get an NFL job and he really wants to play, there are other professional leagues now in which in the United States, the XFL is coming back. The USFL is about to get started. You got the Canadian Football League. Show if you I I'm not an agent, I'm not a trainer, but to me, if you want to show the world or the NFL or whoever that you can still do it there.
So then so what do you think is? Do you think it's that he's not attempting to try out for those leagues, or is he still somewhat blackballed and nobody's ready to take on that?
If he is not, if he is trying out for the leagues, those leagues, we don't know about it, right? I'm not going to assume that he is or isn't. We just don't know about it. What we do know is it seems like he's trying to get the attention of NFL of the NFL.
Hmm.
That's what it seems like. He had that one workout a couple years ago that the NFL put together, which I came out and said I don't really like the looks of that. And then he canceled that and had his own workout, which I thought was a good idea. A lot of people disagree with me, but I felt like him controlling the narrative was the way to go.
Right, because there was a story behind that too, and how the NFL initially had it set up at a certain college, and then they said, well, in order for you to practice at this college, we need you to sign this affidavit absolving us of this, that, and that's why he changed the venue.
Exactly. And I thought that was a great move by him. You don't control, like the NFL was trying to weasel their way out,
Right.
and he
But
didn't allow that to happen. And I
right,
love
but
the fact that
but
he did that.
right, and publicly they were like, "Oh yeah, we're open to it. Here, sign this real quick."
Exactly. Behind closed doors, like, yeah, sign this, absolve us of any responsibility, and blah blah blah. And Kaepernick wasn't having it because he's not he's not a dumb athlete like people want to stereotype athletes to be.
Right.
He is an intelligent athlete.
Well, I don't even know if it's that people that I don't think people believe that athletes are stupid. They just want to keep them segregated in their box. You're just an athlete. You're not this. You're not that. Just play
There
the games.
there is a portion of the population that feels like exactly what you're saying,
Mhm.
but also feels like the athletes are not smart enough because they're not political commentators on CNN or Fox News or MSNBC. They're not, out there. We see them throwing a ball, dribbling a ball, hitting a ball. That's what we see, and that's the box. And to your point, that's the box that some portions of the population want to keep them in
Correct. Agreed.
because let's think about it. An intelligent athlete is definitely a threat to the status quo of the political media that we now know as CNN, Fox News, MSNBC.
Right.
Because what happens? Look at what ESPN has done, and I know you know this. I'm just saying this for our audience. What has ESPN done in 1995? Did ESPN and they probably did, so work with me here. But in 1995, did ESPN have any professional athletes working for them? Tom Jackson.
Very former one. Yeah. Very few.
They were definitely not grabbing guys straight out of retirement and putting them right in the booth or putting them right in the seat.
Right.
Right? But what happened? ESPN saw that these athletes were intelligent enough in their craft to discuss things the way they can discuss things, and each year, I'm gonna say each decade, they get better and better. The Jeff Saturdays, the Ryan Clarks, the Teddy Brewskis,
Said he was Mark Slurf or whatever his name is.
Schlereth,
Right.
Randy
Slurf.
Moss, Michael Irving. You know, like Michael Irvin came up, he had his issues, but he's a star on the TV. Can you imagine if these athletes now started taking stands on political things and went to MSNBC? Guess what happens? All these other people get fired because they're taking spots. They're taking spots like they did in the sport that they played.
Not that he's terribly political, but I'd say somebody that's on the cusp of that would be Michael Strahan, because man, he's on Good Morning in America, and he's talking
Sometimes I
about
forget he was a football player.
he was a
Sometimes I
football
forget.
player
Yeah, I
and
forget.
very well spoken. So he's probably I believe he's the first to kind of break the mold in that, and it could be a segue.
Michael Strahan, and I'm proud of Michael Strahan. I mean, he's a giant, so I want to hate him, but I can't
You can't
because
hate
if
him, man.
you remember, Michael Strahan not only, I mean, he was on Regis and I always call it Regis and Kathy Lee
I
still.
know.
He was on Kelly and Michael when it was them two.
Mhm.
But before that, he had a sitcom. And a lot of people don't remember that. He had a
I
sitcom with
forgot about that.
I think it was
Oh
called
wow.
Brothers. I think it was called Brothers. And I'm trying to remember. I always call him Smooth, but it was he's in a wheelchair now. He's wheelchair bound. He's an actor. He's on NCIS or one of them shows. I can't think of
Mhm.
his name. Chill Mitchell. I can't think of his first name, but I mean, he had a legitimate sitcom. Didn't last. That's okay. He was on Regis and Kathy Lee, Regis and Kelly, whatever you want to call it. Then he's on Good Morning America, and now I've read that he is going to replace Joe Buck and Troy Aikman as a commentator on Fox.
Wow.
And he had a role on Blackish. I don't know if you watched the show. I didn't watch the show as much as I wanted to because I'm going to watch reruns when it comes on. Reruns, I watch it like every day. Like I do stuff like the Goldbergs and Law and Order and Martin and Sanford and Son.
Right.
Um, he um he was on Blackish. Michael Irving has changed his career. Really, he's changed his life from an athlete to you don't even think of him as an athlete anymore. He is a media personality. He's an actor. He does many things. He's even a game show host. He hosts $100,000 pyramid or whatever it's called, whatever number they're up to now. Used to be like $10,000 pyramid. Now it's like 100,000 or million or something. But Michael Strahan does his thing, man. So I say all that to say, if these athletes decided to go the political route, that will really shake up things in the political media base because people are going to watch them talk about it
Right.
as opposed to they're going to bring a whole different audience into that world.
Yeah, I think them going into the political realm is a little. It may be a little bit far fetched.
It's going to happen. I'm telling you right now, it's going. It may be in another 10, 20 years.
Yeah,
It
you're right.
is going to happen because think about the world we live in right now and the young athletes we have coming up. They see what's going on. They have opinions on things, and they're going and getting educated on a lot of different things. And they're going to be not all of them are going to be pros,
Right.
but a lot of them are going to be that are going to go pro. Hopefully, are going to be smart enough to think about their career after professional sports.
Yeah, and that's why I got mad respect for LeBron James and what he does to players that come into the league. Not just what he's saying, what he's outspoken on his political views, but you know just for him to be able to take the time out to build up a new rookie and stuff like that. Um, which you didn't see from like a Michael Jordan or a Karl Malone or anything like that. It was always like, I got mine, so you got to get yours. Da, 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 da. So it's great to see that kind of change. Kind of start to manifest. So I got mad respect for LeBron in those areas.
Absolutely.
Um, but like Michael Strahan, kind of following along the lines of like Shaquille O'Neal. He was what you know producing commercials for the General, and I think now it's was it Little Caesars or Papa John's?
Papa
It was Papa
John's,
John's and
Icy Hot,
Icy Hot, and it's like every week I'm expecting him to do a commercial for
Frosted
like
Flakes,
what'd you say?
Frosted Flakes.
Frosted Flakes. Didn't he have his own line of jewelry through like K Jewelers or something, like a brand of watches and
I wouldn't be
bracelets?
surprised if he did. I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did because I know, and I always forget his name when I go to talk about him. But the guy from the Dolphins had his own brand of watch with Invicta, his own line of watches with Invicta. It was the Dolphins Hall of Famer, linebacker, defensive end, and I
Zach Thomas,
Jason Taylor.
Jason Taylor. Why did
Jason
I think
Taylor.
Zach?
And these guys tend to get into these other business ventures and do their thing. I think Shaq. I think they said Shaq's making more money now than he ever did in the league, which
Yep.
is crazy. Which is crazy. I mean, he even had his own soda. So, but we're gonna move on from that. Of course, if you have an opinion on that, hit us up. Let us know. We have our phone lines open for the first time, and I know it's going to take people a little while to get to call us because people get shy and they don't want to sound funny, but we sound funny anyway, so it's all good. But hit us up. The number's down there: 669-275-0323. You can hit us up and give us your opinion on that. We're going to be talking about Leah Taylor in a minute. If you don't know who Leah Taylor is, it is the Leah Thomas, excuse me, is the transgender swimmer from the University of Pennsylvania that won a championship in the 500 freestyle. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but right now, talking about signings, the MLB is back as we talked about last week, and they are the Phillies. The Phillies are making signings, and like I admit it every week, Miguel, you are the baseball guy. You are the guy, right? What do you think about Schwarber? What do you think about Castellanos? What do you think about what the Phillies have done in their roster going into the season? Pitching wise, hitting wise, defensively, offensively. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I like what they did bullpen wise. They got what a Brad Hand. They got Familia from the Mets, um, Kanubu from the Dodgers. So I kind of like what they did with the bullpen. They actually got like legit arms, not a whole bunch of guys coming off of Tommy John surgeries. I still am a little skeptical about the starting pitching. I do love Zach Wheeler, but he's already he's the fear is that dead arm because of how many innings he threw last year, and he didn't really start throwing until December, and he was complaining of like arm stiffness. Um, I'm not sold on Aaron Nola. I think he still gives up too many home runs. He has a great curveball, but he just hangs it too much. And I think his first start he gave up like two or three home runs,
And he's probably
um,
going to be the opening day starter again this year.
which I
Oh,
disagree with. But I think on a great team he's a number three or a number four. I don't think he's a number
on a
one.
team with great pitching,
Well,
he's
team with great pitching, like Astros before they cheated, I would say maybe a number four, number five.
okay. I think on the team, I think he's a legit number two as it stands right. I think he's a legit number two. I think on any good team he would probably be a three. I think he's number two on our team on the Phillies. But with the uncertainties of Zach Wheeler, he's kind of been boosted to that ace position. Um, and
I'd actually make Ranger Suarez the number two pitcher
over Nola,
over Nola. I would.
go more
He has a lot of ups.
Nola.
He has a lot of upside. He's a lefty, a ton of upside, and he's been successful in every role you put him in. Remember, he started out as a
Nasty sinker.
nasty sinker from a lefty, which you don't see, and then remember he came up as a reliever, and even he closed two games and retired the side like 1, 2, 3 both times. So every role you put him in, he's been successful and he's improved. I saw him pitch a game at Citizens Bank Park against the Mets. Um, and he seemed pretty poised, even though I hate the fact that he got pulled in the fourth mainly because of pitch count. But I was like, come on, he can go in the lineup, one more time. But I think he has a lot of upside, um, and he's still kind of new enough that people have to kind of pick up on his stuff. Um, but yeah, I think that's the move that I would make. Now, offensively, I think they had a great offseason. They still haven't addressed center field, and Odubel Herrera, I believe, is going to start the season on the IL. So I personally think it's addition by subtraction. He just, I love Odubel's like passion. I think we're past all of the domestic violence stuff, but he's just
Hold,
not
hold, hold that thought, Miguel.
okay.
I want you to hold that thought because you're not here in Philly anymore. You've moved to Maryland. You've moved to greener pastures, right? There is
Greener pastures. I got the Orioles, bro.
yeah, but that's not your team, so it don't matter.
It's my second team. I'm inheriting them as my
By
second team.
default, by default, it's your second team. But there is a big contingency here in Philadelphia that is not over the domestic violence thing of Odubel Herrera, and one of them being a reporter for the Inquirer. That I'm not going to name. He hasn't joined us on the show. I used to work with him though, and I'm really not naming him because I forgot his name too. But he's very opinionated and sometimes controversial with his articles. But there is a contingency that doesn't want Odubel around. But I'll continue your thought.
Well, at the end of the day, it comes down to baseball, right?
Yes.
So the domestic violence thing has kind of died down, whatever, whatever. Now it's strictly baseball, right? So you resign Odubel Herrera, who I just don't think is a very. I hate to say that he's not a smart player, but he just doesn't do smart things. He still takes
He's
bad angles on balls in the outfield. If a pitcher has thrown 10 straight balls, he's always swinging at the first pitch, no matter what. Which is my pet peeve. We're like, are you serious? And it's a ball.
Jimmy Rollins in him.
Yeah, but even Jimmy Rollins had some sense. You know what I mean? But it's
So
just like
go ahead, finish your thought.
no. It's just like sometimes he just loses. It's like poof. I'm no longer playing baseball. I'm just swinging for the fences.
I'm one of those people that, and I know I might be in a minority here, but I'm one of those people that I'm able to separate. In most cases, I'm able to separate the person from the. I'm able to separate the player from the person, if that makes sense. Um, Case in point, Desean Watson. The only reason I wouldn't want Desean Watson in Philadelphia is because it's going to be a big controversy, and I really don't want to hear this whole thing about him. You know how it was when Vic came to Philadelphia. I was able, I'm a dog lover, but I'm not one that was like, oh, he don't need to play. I wasn't one of those people. I love dogs, I really do. Ben Roethlisberger had his case. I'm not a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but I'm able to separate. Some people are not able to do that. I compartmentalize a lot of things. Excuse me. I compartmentalize a lot of things. I'm able to separate the person from the player. Now, I don't have to like them as a person. I don't have to like them as a player. But if I think they're a good player, then they're a good player. Just because of what you did off the field doesn't change the type of player you are. If you go around kicking old ladies in the back, you're a piece of crap.
Well, and
But if you're hitting home runs, you're a good baseball player.
it's funny that you say that because so in the picture you have the two newest Philly signings. So on the left you have Nicholas Castellanos, and then you have Michael Schwerber to the right. A reporter asked him about he's like, how do you feel about like, what people's perception about your attitude is? And he's like, because it kind of fits Philadelphia. Da, 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 da. He's like, it's survival. It's how I feed my family. I don't have a college degree. I hit baseballs. You know what I mean? So it's like right there, because people there's he has a reputation for being kind of a jerk. There was an incident I think you seen in St. Louis where when you put it in context, something happened like the game before that. A player got hit, and then he got hit, and he wound up on third base, wild pitch. He slides in safe and just like kind of like flexes in front of the pitcher, and it set everything off. Now Nick was like just kind of calmly waiting till everybody died down, and he said after the game, he's like Benjamin or Yadier Molina can want to beat my butt all the time, I'm still going to ask him for his autograph. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, he's kind of carefree. Like he was really short with some of the answers in the press conference today because I think someone was like, "Well, what about the the attitude?" He's like, "I play baseball," and that's it. Like cut and dry. I play ball, whatever survival mode, and that works in Philly. You know what I mean? Um, so
There's a lot of people at your job, not you personally, but there's a lot of people at your job out there that has a bad attitude, and you still got to work with
right,
them. You know what I mean? They have their issues at home that you may not know about. Only difference is between a professional, a public figure, let's say, and maybe the person that you work with. You may never hear about their issues. You may never hear that guy's whooping up on his wife when he gets home. You may never know that. Unfortunately for professional athletes, well, I don't know if I want to say unfortunately, but for professional athletes, their life is in the spotlight. And I'm not saying either one of these guys are beating on their wives or anybody like that. I'm just saying that their lives are public lives, so we hear more about it, and we tend to hold them at a higher in a higher plane because they're professional athletes. But you got to remember, they're just regular cats like you and I. They're just skilled at playing a sport.
right,
Whereas, you might be skilled at, putting up drywall. I don't know. You might be skilled at fixing cars. You might be skilled at being a lawyer. These
right.
guys are skilled at football, basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, whatever the case may be. And that's that. So I'm gonna put the I'm gonna put you I'm gonna what's the term I'm looking for? I'm having another brain fart.
Uh
Live, this is live, y'all. Uh I'm gonna put you in the hot seat.
oh.
Yeah, I'll use that one. Put you in the hot seat. Do the Phillies make the playoffs this year? That's always a tough one.
Yes.
You say yes.
I say yes because even though the Phillies have done something they've never done before and they've gone over the luxury tax, which is, you know, the max is 230, they're at like 245. But I just have a feeling that there may be a move made at the trade deadline that could take them over. Unless, of course, Zach Wheeler has the same season he had last year. Suarez does better, or progresses forward, and Aaron Nolan stops giving up those big monster home runs on the curveball. I think if those top three pitchers are consistent, and they pitch like 1, 2, and 3s like they should, there should be no issue with making the playoffs.
What kind of deadline move would interest you? Hmm.
I think I think trading for a solid number two. Um,
Does that mean Nola goes,
possibly.
or we don't really have a farm system that we can really bank on? But
Well, so in the farm system we do, but they're years away. Like we got Mick Abel, who throws like 99. They drafted him out of high school. He's only like 19. Andrew Painter, and these pitchers are like 6'5", and I think Andrew Painter is like 6'8".
hmm,
Um, so they're just years away. You know what I mean? But when you look at like the last few world champions, between the Dodgers, they I believe they had like 2 or 3 number ones. The Astros, they had Garrett Cole and Verlander for a little bit. So I think to win and be competitive in the playoffs, you have to have at least a solid 2 to 3 man rotation in the
and
playoffs.
it's funny because you can almost say we were talking about the Eagles catching lightning in a bottle earlier. In 2008, we can almost say the Phillies caught lightning in a bottle because if you think about it, their pitching wasn't great. Right? They had
Wasn't
Cole
great,
Hamels, Brett Myers. I forgot who the number 3 was, and they had uh, Joe Blanton, their
right?
number 4. Who was the number 3 that year? Do you remember?
So it was Hamels, Myers,
I don't remember. I don't.
Blanton.
I don't remember who that third pitcher was. I don't remember.
No, Blanton was 3.
Blanton was the third pitcher.
Blanton was the third pitcher. because he pitched in Game 4 of that series. Um, oh my goodness,
I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'll look it up while we go on to the next topic. And we're talking. The next topic is a very interesting one. It crosses the line of sports and in the real world. Well, sports is the real world too. But we're talking about NCAA swimmer Leah what is it?
Thomas.
Thomas. Damn, I almost had it right the first time. Talking about Leah Thomas, University of Pennsylvania transgender swimmer, which means for those that are like me that they're still trying to figure out the transgender thing. Leah Thomas is a man, was born a man. I'm really trying to do this without being disrespectful to the community. Leah Thomas was born a man and now is living life as a woman and was on the University of Pennsylvania swim team as a man and now competes as a woman and won the 500-meter freestyle NCAA championship as the first openly transgender woman to do so. So let's talk about what you put here in the notes, Miguel, because I want to put all this out here and then we're just going to discuss it. Florida Governor DeSantis overruled the victory, declaring the next runner-up, the second place, as the winner. So is this actually? You asked the question: is this actually a win-win or a lose-lose situation? And I want to ask you, when you're asking that question, who are you asking about? Is this a win-win? Are you NCAA win-win? Leah Thomas win-win? World win-win? Like,
Well, I think it's a. I came at it as more of like a topical thing because there's one side that believes that now you can't even be, I don't want to say woman enough um to win. I think the ambiguity of all of it is the fact that you have a person who was born male with male attributes, you know, defeating females rather handily is from what I'm hearing. And there's starting to become an outcry from the female community saying, where is the competitive balance or where is the fairness in this? You know what I mean? So it's almost like I think I saw somebody post that it's almost like women aren't good enough anymore. You know what I mean? A female had posted that. So when I posed the question, is it a win-win or a lose-lose? You know, yes, it brings out the topic of transgender persons in sport, but does it muddy the waters and almost, in a sense, eliminate a gender? So it's almost like, are you shooting yourself in the foot? That's kind of the question, because it's like, somebody had brought up an idea that maybe it would maybe better to just have a separate category for the LGBT community. So you would have male, female, and LGBTQ. Because I don't know any other way.
so here's one question I have about that. If there could, because I once felt the same way. Maybe they should have their own category. Would the category be a transgender category? Because then you could still have men competing against women.
It may be something. See, here's the thing: when it comes to like the win-win, I think that NCAA is going to win in the end of this. The Olympics are going to win in this, and the reason why I say that is because if you notice in the last Olympics, the last Summer Olympics, they started doing something very different where they had mixed genders racing, right? And I was like,
You just clarify that for people that may not know what you're talking about. They had in track and field, they would have
right,
men and women on the same team running a relay race, running the 4x4 relay.
right.
Mhm.
So there was some strategy behind it. Some females ran first. You know, some ran the mid leg. Stuff like that. So I think it's setting up in future Olympics to have almost like a. I don't like to use the word master athlete, but you know, it could be segueing to something like that. Like, we have the best athlete in the world, male or female or whatever. You know what I mean? So,
It's going
um,
to be interesting to see, to say the least. It's a tough one. I mean, I am of the belief that in individual sports like this, if you are born of a certain gender, you should compete in that gender's category. I'm just of that belief. Now, with that being said, one of my assistant coaches here is a wrestling coach as well at the school where I coach. And he was telling me that there were girls on the wrestling team and they will wrestle against the boys. Okay, all well and good. Now, in that situation, you have a girl wrestling against a boy, and they decided to play a boys' sport. Okay, and they know that they're going to go up against boys. However, they have girls wrestling playoffs and tournaments and stuff like that. So
uh,
if it's a dual meet like this school versus that school, they wrestle against who they wrestle against. When it comes to playoffs, they separate the men and the women, the girls and the boys. They separate it. So it's an interesting dynamic. That's something that we're gonna keep an eye on. It's definitely gonna be ever present in our life from here on out, probably. Um and it's just that we got a comment coming in from R dot. What up, R dot? I'm trying to get this comment up there. Here we go. He says that if there are girls slash women talented enough, should sports still be segregated? And that's a good question. And for that, I'm going to say yes, they should still be segregated because they are going to be dominant in the sport that they play. Okay. If they want to go in and if they want to go and dominate, try to, dominate the men's sport, by all means, have at it. We do know that there was a woman drafted to the NBA. She just recently passed away. It was a long time ago. Um, but that's almost and I probably get in trouble for saying this. Actually, I won't because nobody's gonna say anyway. That's like saying if a guy is not talented enough, should the sports say segregated? If the guy's not talented enough, they don't play.
pretty
You know
much.
what I mean? But if a girl is talented enough, they think that they kind of think should they play against guys? No, Brittany Griner was dominating the college game. Free Brittany Griner, Russia. Brittany Griner was dominating the college game. She was better than probably every girl in college basketball at the time that wasn't a ball handler. Okay, she was a big. She was dunking. She was dominating down low. She even punched the girl out one time. I mean, it is. I don't mean to laugh about it, but it happened. Um. So yeah, I think sports should stay segregated. I am of that belief. And somebody might say, "Oh wow, a black man saying something needs to be segregated." Yes, sports need men and women. There's men's sports. There's women's sports. Keep them segregated. When you get into that transgender conversation, I'm sorry. If you are born a man of man DNA of man testosterone, and now you living your life as a woman, I don't think you should participate in women's sports. If Joel Embiid all of a sudden decided and this is the ignorant part of me. Intelligent ignorance. Check it out. Neutrals Radio. If Joel Embiid decided to live his life as a woman today and get into the WNBA, he would absolutely be the most dominant player in the WNBA. Would that be fair? Think about that, Miguel. Would it be fair? It wouldn't be.
um, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be fair. But I think the conversation is going to start to generate, because remember when the NCAA decided to allow Leah Smith to compete, as a female transgender athlete. Remember there were stipulations. They have to have gone through the testosterone treatment, or have proven that they've been going through it over the course of 3 years, um, to compete at a high level. You know, but again, I'm no scientist. I play one. I used to play one when I was 4 years old, but I don't know if that's going to prove to be enough. You know,
I saw. I'm gonna we're gonna move on from this right after this. I I saw a product that said, I'm not going to say what the product was or who the product was made by, but it said created by people born with vaginas, and I thought that was very interesting. The wording there, created by people born with vaginas. Obviously, they're talking about if they were women,
right?
right? But they didn't say that. They didn't say that, and I just thought that was interesting wording. I thought that was interesting placement on the product. Like I said, I'm not going to say what the product is. I'll tell you off air what the product was, but it was somebody's cracking up. But it was a it was a feminine product. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
So I'll just leave it at that, and we'll move on because it looks like you're ready to stump me. I keep looking for my mouse in the wrong spot. My Mies, looking for my Mies in the wrong spot.
Your Mises.
My Mises. Let's see what we got here. Let me blow this up real quick. 2008 Really, Miguel? Really?
What?
2008 World Series, huh?
Yep.
Because if I don't get this now, I'm really going to be embarrassed.
I don't know if embarrassed
Is it
is
Jamie Moyer?
no. That was the number 3 starter. Jamie Moyer was the
Jamie
number 3
Moyer.
starter.
Okay.
But
Um,
no, in the words of Richie Aspirin, good guess, wrong. However,
okay. I just wanted to put that out there because that was the first one, and you always say go with that first one, but it just didn't work out. Okay. Oakland A's, Phillies, Rays, Pirates, Braves.
Angels. Hold up, let me get the teams down again because I think I had them out of order.
It wasn't
All right, it
Ibanez,
was
was it?
Philadelphia.
Ibanez was
Oh,
the next year.
huh?
Ibanez was the following year. He was 2009, right?
Correct. So he played for Philadelphia, Oakland, the Dodgers, the Kansas City Royals, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Washington Nationals, and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Wow, played for all those teams, huh? Not Jason Worth, is it?
Incorrect.
I don't know that number. What position? Just give me a position. I think that'll help me out. It'll make it real easy for me, actually, won't it? If it's the third baseman, I don't remember who the third baseman was. If it's Chooch, I think it's Chooch, ain't it?
Nope.
Chooch wasn't 50s. I don't remember number Chooch was.
Chooch was 51.
Okay, I was 5 off. Um, 64. Who the hell is number 60?
I'm going to give you one clue. He hit a home run in game 4 of the World Series.
Joe Blanton. Yes, we spoke about him. Joe Blanton.
It was hilarious.
I forgot he played for all those teams.
It was hilarious that you actually mentioned Joe Blanton in the beginning of the show. I was like, no.
So that means he was supposed to be the guest next week.
Yeah, sure.
Joe Blanton. So he didn't stump me today. But you know what? I don't know if I would have gotten it if you had told me the position. Actually, yes, I would have because we spoke about it earlier and then we just went through the whole rotation.
Right.
So yeah, I would have. But
I thought I'd throw you off with the fact that he hit a home run in the World Series. So for
The fact
those
that you said that made it special because the only other person I was thinking of was Matt Stairs. But if you had said in the NLCS, I would have went with Matt Stairs.
right.
But
I thought you were gonna. Well, you actually did say Jason Worth. Who else? He hit a home. Matter of fact, he hit a home run in that same game. I think it was Howard hit two that game. Worth hit one, and then Blanton hit one too. Because he was the first pitcher at the time in 82, 92, 82, 92. No, 4. 84, 94, 2004. He was the first pitcher in 31 years at that time to hit a home run in a World Series game.
who was it before that? Because you years, so I know you.
Ken Holtzman from the Oakland Athletics. He hit a home run, I think, against the Reds or the Dodgers.
Do you see this man's knowledge, people? Do you see this man's baseball knowledge? He just pulled that out of. Come on, man. I ain't even heard of Ken Holtzman, and you know that he was the last pitcher before Joe Blanton to hit a home run in the World Series. Not only that, you knew the whole 1969 Braves lineup.
You still amazed about the amazing Mets, huh?
I listen. I just spoke to somebody about a week ago about it. How amazed I was that you just reeled off the whole lineup outside of the one person I asked you about, which was the one person that you weren't sure about. But every other position, 8 out of the 9 positions, you reeled right off, and I was amazed by that.
Because yeah, I mean, again, growing up, I didn't go out much. We didn't have YouTube, but we had. You know what it was? You remember on Prism?
Sports machine,
Do you remember Prism, the channel?
absolutely. That's why I used to watch my Sixers games.
On Prism, I'd say like from midnight to like 2 in the morning on like Thursdays. They would play this thing called Baseball's Greatest Games. It was hosted by Steve Garvey, right?
Okay.
And they would just run through every week. It was a different game. It was like the 1981 World Series Dodgers and Yankees, 84 World Series Padres and
Hold
Tigers.
on, Miguel. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I got it. Give me 1 second. Keep on telling your story. I'll be right back. I can hear you.
Okay. Um. So I'm watching all these games and kind of getting like the historical references, because for some reason historical references kind of stick with me. So, um, so that's where kind of it comes from. Just being bored, watching TV. When you're sick at 2 in the morning, watching Prism, um, which depending on the day of week could become Spanktravision. Uh, because after a certain time on Friday or Saturday, they're not playing sports anymore. So
It's like when Cinemax became Skinemax at a certain time of night.
Skinemax.
The soft porn. Well, this week Miguel didn't stump me with one of my favorite players this week. I actually got it right this week. But you know what? I got to give you a question, don't I?
I think so.
Oh, go on. Let me get
The
my
answer the answer is Darius Kasparaitis.
damn. Let me pick a different question.
You're silly.
Let me pick a different question. Let me see. Let me see how I'm just gonna pick a random one, but I'll ask you this. If it's ice hockey, do you want me to ask you the question?
Hmm.
Stump the
Let's
schlam.
yeah, let's try it. Hockey's not my strongest. I mean, Flyers history I'm good at, but
Okay,
overall,
I do not see here. I'm gonna mix them up a little bit more, and I'm just gonna select one. Here you go. You can see. I can't see. I'm gonna take
I'm
this one.
glad you did it that way because when you were doing it underneath the table, it looked inappropriate.
It's because I was doing inappropriate things. No,
No, no, you're not supposed to say that.
just playing. Oh, here's one that's football for you.
That's not hockey.
No, it's football. I said I was gonna pick a
Oh,
random
okay, okay, I got you.
football. So you get a 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point question. Which one do you want?
Let's go 3.
3 point question. Here we go. Oh, this one's easy. Let me see what the other 3 point question is.
No, no, you pulled out that question. Ask that question.
I'll ask you both of them because I think you might be able to get both of them. The first one you're going to get. I'm just
Okay.
telling you right now. So I don't have light behind me, so I'm trying to see. Here we go. Which of these NFL Hall of Fame players did not begin? Wait a minute, that's not the question I wanted to ask you. That's the second one I wanted to ask you. Here we go. Sorry.
Dude, you should have kept going. I want
I
on the
should have kept
different.
going, but you would have known when I asked you the other one. Like, oh, he messed that up. All right. Which undrafted quarterback threw a Super Bowl record 414 yards and was named the game's MVP in 2000?
Oh, oh God, they just did a movie about him.
They did.
Uh, I can see his face. He beat my Eagles.
He did.
Why can't I think of his name? At number 13. Oh, Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner is correct. Now, would you like the more difficult second 3-point question?
Sure.
Which of these NFL Hall of Fame players did not begin his career in the USFL? Jim Kelly, Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Steve Young.
Reggie White.
That is incorrect.
Then Steve Young.
That is also incorrect.
Wait, they started their careers in the USFL.
They did not start their careers in the US.
Oh, I. That would be Jim Kelly then.
That is also incorrect.
Really?
Yes. I didn't know Jim Kelly played in USFL, actually. I knew the other two did. I didn't know Jim Kelly did.
So who was the one that didn't play? It was
The only option you
Lawrence
have
Taylor.
left is Lawrence Taylor.
Lawrence Taylor.
Do you want to take Lawrence Taylor for 1,000?
Wow,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought. You know what I was thinking of? You remember when John Elway got drafted? He actually got drafted by. I think he got drafted by the Colts, and then he got drafted by the Yankees because he was a great baseball player, and I think he was using one to bring up the price of the other. And I think Jim Kelly was part of that same draft too. That's why I didn't think. I thought he was.
That's great knowledge by you there. That's great
Uh,
knowledge by you.
I'm almost disgusted, but
You're as disgusted as I was about myself last week.
no, not that disgusted.
Last week by me, that was bad last week.
See, but like I know numbers, so that's why like I memorize. Like when you say Carlos Ruiz is like 51,
Yeah, you
Von,
can't
Von
read out with that one.
like you say Von Hayes, I'm thinking 26 and 9. So it's like for some reason I remember those numbers.
There was a time when I was like that, but baseball numbers lose me completely.
Gotcha.
They just I don't know why, but they just lose me. Maybe it's because you don't always see their number as like
You
you
know,
do in basketball or football.
but
But
it's different today. Like because when we were growing up, like players stayed with their team longer.
yes, that's true too.
Like Castellanos is, he was number 2 in Cincinnati, and now he's 8 with the Phillies. It's like, where did that come from?
Exactly.
But
Exactly. Well, look, we want to thank you for joining us on the Check Swing podcast while we are wrapping things up. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Check Swing Show. Also, while you're at it, you can follow the radio station, New Twist Radio, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at New Twist Radio, and also subscribe. I can say that again. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel at New Twist Radio, where you will catch all of our shows, Intelligent Ignorance, Check Swing Podcast, 10-7, all that good stuff over on our YouTube channel. Now, for Miguel and myself and everybody else associated with New Twist Radio, we want to thank you for joining us. Make sure you check out the 10-7 show this Sunday at 7 o'clock. I think Miguel might be on that show. We were discussing it earlier. We just got to put the paperwork together and see if we can make that happen. I have to put the check in the mail.
Yeah, your people can call my people. I need Dunkin' Donuts coffee with Domino sugar.
We can make that happen. I have a bag of Dunkin' Donuts coffee in the house right now, and Domino sugar.
I love how you think.
So we already got it together. But for all that being said, we want to thank y'all again for checking out the Check Swing podcast. All those that participated, all those that shared us, all those that liked us. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all for loving us. And we are going to get up out of here. Make sure you check us out next week right here on the Check Swing podcast, Neutrals Radio. Peace, y'all.